welcome to Backstory Sessions. I'm your host, Matt. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. I'm joined today by my co-host, Matt. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Kat. Hey, everyone. How are you?
Well, here we are with another episode of, the backstories of love.
Yes. This is the last one, or is there one after this?
Well, this is the last official one, I think, because Valentine's Day has now, come and gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and I will say, this, this couple is very fascinating to me because we've had them both as guests before.
Yes, but separately.
Yes, and we really didn't know that they were a couple, right? I mean,
No, not the first time.
yeah. And then, started kind of putting these things together and we were right. And so today we're going to get to hear their story. And because, I like both of them a lot. And I think, what a neat couple. And she's so talented, in art, just visual art, just amazing. And I know,
Yes, I have one of her lithographs.
yes, I was getting ready to say, and it's Bobby's song, One More Day.
That's right. He did help write that.
Yeah. And so, it's that is inspired, that is written with the art. It's just, they seem to work very well together. So I think it's going to be a great story and I can't wait to hear that.
And it's one of those perfect Valentine's Day songs.
Yeah. Well, I want to say one thing about a thing you mentioned actually on an episode or so back of the love. The Dear Juliet Club, whatever.
Oh, yes. People will write letters to Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, and that started apparently there's a group in Italy somewhere where you send these to.
Verona.
Yes, Verona, Italy, and they actually reply.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to point out. I did say to the listeners that if it was free to do and I could do it by email, I would. And then I would post, the response that I got back from Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
And my email came back and the server was, too busy or whatever. So obviously everybody had the same idea of okay, it's Valentine's and, let's write to Juliet.
Well, I think it's probably because we mentioned it on the podcast.
Well, no doubt, because everybody does everything that you tell them to do. So including me. Well, anyways, it did not get through, but I am not giving up. I am going to resend it. I thought I'd give it a little bit of time to, die down a little bit. If it does, I mean, I don't know. They could be riding on these all year long.
That's right. It could be the, what am I thinking of? Around the holidays, they do that Christmas Carol thing.
You mean writing to Santa Claus?
No. The Christmas Carol thing where you call, what is it, dial a carol or whatever it is?
Carol, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so faithful to do that. So, yeah, thumbs up to dial a carol. Well, I don't know, but if I ever do get a response back or get my email through, I am going to update on that because I'm very curious, to see what Juliet's going to tell me.
Well, I mean, as I understood it, and maybe I'm wrong, and I probably am because I don't know anything about it other than what I read in a brief snippet of a article, I would assume that it's men who write to Juliet, no?
Oh my God. How
I
you
mean,
bring
I don't know. I mean, it could be.
Well, I mean, she's clearly taken by Romeo. Well, he's dead technically, but so is she. If you really, if you think about it, that is one of the sickest love stories, if you want to, in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, I mean, it is a classic, so.
Yes, it is a classic that I taught for many years, but I still always felt like, no, I don't want that love exactly.
Yeah.
That's not the happy ending. But well, I mean, it's an ending. But I mean, I I did not know that part. See, you should have led with that before I
I
said
mean, I
my
was just thinking about it. It would make sense that it's men who are writing, but I mean, I suppose women could too, you know, maybe ask
well,
for advice or whatever.
well, then I'm gonna change my name. I'll be like, I'm Matt.
Okay.
I used to be Kat, but
Right, yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, so there needs to be a Dear Romeo club out there for me to write to, if
There
that's
you
the case.
go. You could start that one.
Yeah, right here in Barberville,
There you
Kentucky.
go.
If you want love, I think this is the place to,
There, yeah,
get
sure.
your wish. So,
Yeah.
uh, well, okay. So you know how you were doing statistics and questions and stuff like
Yes,
that.
I have a couple more.
Okay, well, I have one. So,
All right, go
uh,
ahead.
should I start with it?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay. So, Valentine's has come and gone. And how many, what percentage of people bought themselves a Valentine's gift?
Hmm. I'm gonna guess, I mean, 45%.
So why do you think that? Because that's pretty high. It's almost half. Why do you think that it
I
might be?
I think that people, are like they figure I buy something for someone else, might as well buy something for me.
Okay. Well, all right. So did you buy yourself a gift for Valentine's Day?
Not that I remember. I was probably working in, my life during the week when Valentine's was on Wednesday, I think. Yeah, so my life during the week is work, home, sleep, repeat.
Well, I did not buy myself a gift either. So, based on that statistic, it would be 0% because
Right.
neither of us did it. But it's gonna shock you because it's a low number. It's like 8%.
Wow.
Yeah, only
Huh.
8% people, and maybe it's for the reasons like you said, middle of the week and whatever,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
maybe most people maybe just had somebody buying them all this stuff and they didn't like.
either that or the people are single and they just like, I'm going to buy myself something, but not all single people feel that way. They're just like, oh, Valentine's Day, I'm single. This sucks. I'm not buying myself anything.
Well, some people are like, I'm single and I'm happy about it, and I'm still not buying myself anything.
Yeah, that's
But
true. Maybe that's why the number's so low.
yeah, I mean, who knows? But I thought you would find that interesting, and that's the only thing I have on that.
Alrighty. Well, I only have a couple, so it's kind of interesting. During the Victorian era, and into the 20th century, those who didn't want the attention of certain people would anonymously send vinegar valentines. I don't know what that is, but I think it's not so much the act of sending vinegar or valentines dipped in vinegar or something like that. They were actually cards that you could buy that they were sort of, you know, like, I don't want to be your Valentine because you stink or something like that. They're a little bit cruel and they could be purchased to insult just about anyone in your life.
Oh my gosh!
So Hallmark truly does make a card for every occasion. Apparently.
I, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, that's kind of well, okay. So I mean, the closest thing, is when they used to sell, I don't know if they still do because, obviously it's been gazillion years since I was in school to buy Valentines, but that you would get the box of whatever theme that you picked out, and there would be the ugly ones, and like and then there was like the big ones, the big nice ones too. And so everybody would know, like, whoever got the big nice ones, was the popular
Right.
one.
Yeah.
And if you got the other ones, especially like if you got it from someone you really liked and they give you the bad Valentine, so it could be hard, like crush your heart in a way for a day or so.
Yeah.
So it's probably like something like the vinegar. It's like preparing you to get some vinegar
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, so those vinegar valentines weren't the only strange tradition from
Let's strip
England. From
up.
England, that
Okay, what else you got here?
they're from England. So in the 1700s, English women would pin 5 bay leaves to their pillow, one in the center and one on, and then 4 on the corners, on the night of February 13th in order to have sweet dreams about their future husband. So if you have some bay leaf,
Hey,
could
I
try
mean,
that next year.
oh, so it has to be on the 13th.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, I could like say, oh yeah, I might try that. I mean, I don't think that like's hurting anybody.
yeah. Unless you're allergic to bay leaf or something, I guess.
Well, or you don't have any dream, that you can remember, and then it'll be like that could, that means like there's nobody for you, right?
Right, right, yeah,
So, I mean, yeah, in a way that kind of sucks. So I'm thinking, no, let's not do that. And besides that, I mean, it's probably not going to tell you anyways, because you probably already are dreaming of whoever is, whoever's in your subconscious that you think it's for you, whether they really are or not. So I don't really think you even need the bay leaves to do that.
well, it just, 1700s, they were, I guess, trying everything they could. So,
Well, as one should,
right, yeah,
try everything they can for love. So that's, I'll agree with that part of it. Just, I think they could try a little bit more than the bay leaves. But,
alrighty. Well, one more for the road, shall we say.
right.
So, did you know that those little candy hearts were not available for Valentine's Day in 2019?
Because of COVID?
No. It was because the company that in 2018, the company that made the little candy hearts, Necco, you remember Necco wafers? And
Yes. Yes.
okay. So made all the candy hearts up to that point. But in 2018, they declared bankruptcy and they were forced to close the original plant and sell off the candy brands that they made. They made a bunch of different ones, apparently. So this other company ended up acquiring the rights to the candy hearts. And
It must be like Brock's or Nesco or,
no, it's called Spangler.
oh,
Never heard of them. But it took them a bit, a bit to get production up and running. So, yeah, 2019, didn't work out. So, I
well,
guess,
that got right past me. I did not know, that they
yeah,
weren't out here.
yeah, it says they returned to shelves in 2020, and apparently there were some changes due to equipment problems. But then by 2021, they'd worked out all the issues, and now there's,
Well, I'm glad you brought those up because, we did just closed out Cupid 2.0,
mm-hmm,
and, it was a Valentine's, obviously, Cupid, love in the air kind of show. And the audience was given a box of those little hearts. So they were very hard to find, because like when you wait right to the last minute to try to get them, everybody's trying to get them for Valentine's for classes, at school and all of that. So, anyways, the people that came to the show were lucky enough to have that little box of hearts. And, you know, did you like read them? You used to read them before you ate them?
Sure, I guess.
My favorite color. What was your favorite color? I had a favorite.
I don't think I ever remember having a favorite color of them.
I liked the purple ones.
Just because of the way they looked, or did they taste
Yeah,
different? Or?
I think they all taste the same. Like,
Yeah.
they're not even like, to me, not that good.
No.
But the purple with the pink writing, it just looked nice. And I just always like really liked the purple more than the pink.
Hmm.
And never did like the green. And, I don't even know if there's must be yellow, I think. I don't remember all the colors, but I remember I like the purple.
Okay. Well, I don't know what purple signifies, but
Prince, obviously.
yes, of course.
Like what else? No. Oh well, Barney the dinosaur. There have been some
Right. Yeah.
iconic purple things like Purple Rain. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I like that. The color purple, movie. So I guess it was just like all those factors in my mind said like the purple one, and so I did.
All righty. Well, what would you say is the most popular restaurant on Valentine's Day?
Well, I hope it is not McDonald's. I shouldn't say that. I mean, if you want to go to McDonald's, wherever you want to go for love, that your love dinner, that is good. But, it seems to me like I remember reading Once Upon a Time something about it being like White Castle or Crystal, like someplace like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. You are very wrong.
Well, it could have been like another. I almost thought it was Valentine's Day though, and I thought, well, that's really strange. Like, I mean, I guess you could get like a whole lot of food for I don't even know how much one costs now. But all right, so if I'm really thinking like, where do people like this would be a sit down kind of restaurant? I mean, I would think
Sure.
if people generally would like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hope it's not Cracker Barrel too.
No, no, no. So what type of cuisine do you think would be the most popular?
Well, I hope it's not Chinese or something
No.
like. I mean, I think seafood probably is like places that have steak and seafood. Like
Uh,
surf and turf kind of things.
no, no. The most popular is actually,
Italian.
huh?
Oh, Italian. I want to change my answer.
Yeah, okay. All right. So Italian is the most popular. What's number two?
Ooh, okay. Number two then would have to be well, can I go back to surf and turf? Like,
Nope. Nope.
okay, Mexican.
Good guess, but no, it's actually French.
Well, that's you know, that's good too.
Yeah. So there you have it. There's my Valentine's Day facts.
Well, and I would check. I want to check in on that White Castle crystals thing because it is a popular place to go on some holiday, and it doesn't quite make sense. It would be Valentine's, but in my mind somewhere it seems like I remember that or something.
Well, let's hope we don't find out that it's like the truck stop or something. Pilot. Flying J.
But as we said, it does not matter where you go with
Right, right, yeah. Go
long
and,
as love. We learned
yeah,
that like Bon Jovi, because Johnny used to work on the dock.
that's right. He did. Then
Yeah.
that damn union went on strike. So,
right? So, but they held on to what they had,
Right. Yeah.
because they got each other, and that's a lot.
Right. Right. Yeah. All right.
That's don't need to know until we get to hear Bobby and Tessa's story.
All right. Well, let's talk to them and see what they got. All right. Here we go.
Well, Bobby and Tess, I want to welcome you back to Backstory Sessions. It's really so exciting to get to talk to you both again.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having us. It's always fun being on here.
Yeah, it's probably been a couple of years almost now.
It has, and I think we met Bobby first and then Tess. This is the first time of having you both together, and of course, we know there's a reason for that because you're both now on our February Backstories of Love, we call this month. So,
Backstories of love. I love it.
yeah, me too. And so, Tess, I think it's interesting when we had you on last, you had the song The Wrong One
Yeah.
had come out and you'd written that, and we talked a lot about that. So I'm guessing that Bobby is probably not who that song was about.
Let's hope that song wasn't about Bobby. That'd be all.
Yeah, I would hope not. I mean, especially since I wrote on the song.
He was a co-writer on it. That's true. Oh.
That'd make for a short episode.
I know. It's like, wow, we thought this was going to go another way. Okay, so
No, that's the song, we co-wrote that her grandmother started, and we finished it with Billy Lawson.
That's right.
So, no, that definitely wasn't what that was about. Hey, who knows what it's really about? I mean, her grandmother had the idea. So.
Well,
that
that's
is
true. 50 years ago.
Very pretty song too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait until you hear some of the new music. Has some great stuff.
Well, tell us about that. Catch us up a little bit on the writing and what you've been doing project wise before we get into
Sure.
love.
Yes, sure. Absolutely. So still working on this recording project, and actually we just got back last night from Muscle Shoals, where I'm recording this album. I'm at Wishbone Studios, and just so much amazing, rich music history down there. And I'm just so excited about this album. It's kind of just like my dream album project, where I get to just pick all the things I want. I don't, have a label telling me what to do or any creative direction. I can just really do what I want, pick the songs I want. So most of them will be originals, like The Wrong One, which was already released, a single off of the album. But there'll be a couple from my family that I'm recutting, but I'll leave that to be a surprise. But I'm so excited about it.
And when is this going to be out?
What now?
When will this be released?
Later this year. It's a 2024 release. So, yep. Yeah. Headed back next weekend to record some more, about halfway done.
Yeah, it's really something to see Tess work in the studio, because she knows what she wants, knows what she likes, and the bar is high. The bar is set high, but she always gets it.
That is a wonderful way of saying that it might be a little hard to please in the studio, but I'm working with Billy Lawson. He's producing this, and it's such a great fit because he does everything so tastefully. And, I've mentioned before about just how I'm really not into the overproduction that you find a lot of in Nashville, where there's literally everything thrown at the song to where it just drowns out the singer and it's just overproduced. And that's not my style. And he's right. I know what I like and what I want. And so it's just a really great fit to be working with Billy.
That was a compliment.
Yeah.
It really was, because unfortunately, I've had to work with so many people who don't know who they are musically. They are so just all over the map. And that's the one thing about Tess. She really knows who she is as an artist. And that's always a joy, when you could work with someone like that in the studio. I mean, I've worked with people 1 week, they're very traditional country. The next week they're doing a pop thing. Then they're doing this rap country thing. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, so outside of the music realm, Bobby, do you find Tess to be the same way, knowing what she wants?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, usually it's not hard to figure it out. I mean, yeah, she's you know what, Sarah, with all jokes aside, I mean, I could totally get really humorous with that question, but in all reality, she just is a strong woman who just happens to be so talented in so many areas. And at the same time, she's very strong, but at the same time, very loving, very giving to people, has one of the most beautiful hearts I've ever seen. And definitely one of the most talented. I mean, God, she can do these amazing pieces of art that she paints. She can write songs. She can sing. I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot she can't do. I mean, I couldn't even draw. I can barely write my name. So,
Well, thank you. That's very sweet.
So, Tess, what is Bobby like?
I was going to say, wow, that's a lot of pressure. That's one way for this to get the podcast to get started. He's already scored all the points. But, Bobby is also, I could say all the same things about him, and it sounds so cliche, but that really is what made me fall for him. When I met him, there was already several people that I was close with in my life that would praise him for years. I mean, just he's so thoughtful, very thoughtful. I mean, this man, the trip that he planned for us to go on after Christmas, just this surprise after Christmas trip, was the cutest, sweetest, most thoughtful, planned out thing. And, and he's just generous, of course, and very talented. Very, very talented. And I love that it's like never a competition, because we get that, curiosity, that question sometimes when you're with another person who's also highly creative or maybe does some of the same things. It's never like competitive. There's no jealousy. Like, I'm his biggest fan. He's my biggest fan. We're like cheering each other on, because if you're in any kind of creative business, it is a roller coaster. Like, one day you think, oh my gosh, like I'm kind of nailing it here. Like, I'm doing great. And then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst. And it can be a roller coaster. So it's really great to have a cheerleader in each other.
Yeah, well, you said all of that. I mean, that's all correct. And I mean, if Elvis Presley came back tonight and said, I want to record one of your two songs, either yours, Bobby, or you, Tess, I'd say record hers, and I would be so happy. And I really mean that. And I guess when you love somebody, I guess that's kind of what you do. But at the same time, you ask her that question, but I'm going to go ahead and add to it. I'm very complicated. I think I'm a really nice guy. I'm a giving guy too. But at the same time, songwriters, especially songwriters, I mean, she's a songwriter artist. I mean, I guess I am too. I do shows, but I'm writing for the market, and that can totally drive you crazy. And there's days, I mean, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, she's, we'll call the next, talk the next day and be like, oh, what time did you go to bed? Oh, I'm like, yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm up, trying to come up with an idea for a writing session the next morning, at 10 o'clock. And I mean, that just creates a lot of chaos in the mind. And it's a wonder any of us has any sanity. And so much rejection, I mean, you'll write so many songs, and it's like you just got to be prepared every day for rejection. And that can be, I've seen a lot of my friends bring that into their relationships, with their partners, and it does not work very well. I mean, I'm getting good. I'm growing. Even at this age, I'm still growing. I'm learning how to cut the switch off and not bring all of that kind of chaos in when we have time together.
Right, yeah.
Maybe that's just a part of getting old. I don't know. Maybe I'm telling you more than you wanted to.
No, I love it.
I want to know everything. So this is great. So if there were a time when one of your careers was, hitting rock bottom for whatever reason, for, more than just like a short period, and the other person was finding great success at that same time, how would you deal with that?
I wouldn't have any problem with that. I haven't been to that point, I don't guess, but at the same time, I know me well enough that, I know how this business is. Each week I'm on rock bottom about 75% of the week anyway.
Yeah.
Not really, not really, not
Yeah.
really.
But honestly, even over the course of the few years we've been together, even just enduring a pandemic together, we've endured the loss of Bobby's mother, and just other hardships between loss of shows when it's a pandemic and just other crazy things. My dad having a heart attack. When you go through all of that stuff, life stuff and career stuff, it's just such a roller coaster. And I can honestly say, like, I would not want to do life with somebody else because he's so great at like being just encouraging when it's like the lows, and also just the first one to be the most excited when there's like a victory. And so it's great on both ends. And like you said though, because we're in creative businesses, it's kind of a roller coaster every week. To some extent it really feels like that. It feels like you had a rejection and then you had a victory and then so it's a crazy business.
Honestly, for me, I'm at a point in life where, relationships mean more to me than success. We need success to keep paying bills and keep moving forward. But at the same time, this past 4 years, it's morbid to say this, but I actually finally made a list of how many people I've lost since the pandemic. And it wasn't all due to COVID by any means. It was just all kinds of situations, young people, old people, middle age. And I've lost, almost 40 people. And a lot of these people, a majority of them are people I talk to every week, had long friendships with. Some I wrote songs, some I did shows with. And that has been one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. But at the same time, I've grown from it. And it's made me realize whether Charlie Bozo cuts a song of mine or not, that's not going to be like, that's not my God anymore. Used to, that was everything to me. That defined if I was at peace or not. And now I'm like, you know what? Garth Brooks doesn't like one of my songs. I don't care.
Right.
I really don't. So,
yeah.
And maybe that's easier
really
said. Maybe it's easier to say that since I've been blessed with some of my heroes recording my songs. I have a song out right now that was recorded by Bill Anderson, Vince Gill, Bobby Bear, Jimmy Fortune of the Statler Brothers, and Willie Nelson. And then Willie just cut a new song a couple of months ago. So, that doesn't hurt either. It did that. So I don't know. Life is pretty darn good. Even with all the...
I think you've gotten to this place where you really enjoy and appreciate that. And you're like, wow, this is such a blessing. I'm going to enjoy this, like that this just got cut versus, okay, already time to worry about the next thing,
And if a radio, programmer, hey, it's great to have songs on the radio, but if that isn't my God either. I'm not worried about some consultant who controls a majority of the radio stations, whether he's going to make my life happy or not. That's just not the way to live. It's not.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that the relationship has been an added part of like what makes happiness for you now.
Oh, definitely. Are you kidding? Absolutely. It's kind of a calm in the storm. Of course, with Tess, she was raised in this business. I was a disc jockey, as we talked before, when I was 11 years old. So I was around it to some degree, but she literally was raised, as you heard in your podcast with her, on a tour of her grand. All of her family. It's crazy, it seems. But, so yeah, she's used to it.
Love, I feel like even though it's two very different stories, in some ways they're both so crazy. Some of my stories from my childhood and growing up the way I did in this family of country music, and the way he has stories of giving, an interview to Johnny Cash at 11 years old. It's kind of like we're both this odd shaped nut out of the bag, and then we found each other and we're like, oh, well, it kind of fits.
Tess is easy. That's true. I agree with that. But Tess is just easy to love. And I mean, like even in my hometown, it's like everyone's adopted her. And whether she goes once every 6 months or whatever, I mean, people, they stay in touch with her through social media, and they're crazy about it. And that's kind of the case anywhere she goes. So.
Well, how did the nuts get together? Okay, so I've been waiting to hear the backstory of this.
Great question. What is funny is today when I thought about us doing this podcast, I realized we have we've done so many interviews and individually and podcasts, interviews, radio interviews, and never have we done one where we told our love story. So how cool. This is the debut of
awesome.
it. I know. I didn't realize that till today. And it's a crazy story.
Well, it is crazy because I was a stalker. I was a internet stalker.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, but we actually officially met in 2017, and it was at this annual event that happens, but it was the very first year of it. They do this Dottie West birthday bash in honor of my grandmother, and they do it here in Nashville at a place called Third and Lindsley, and they have all kinds of different artists come, Jamie Johnson, Bill Anderson, all kinds of people have come, and they sing in her memory, and they raise money for charity. So the very first year was 2017, and we met then, but I don't really remember a whole lot about us meeting. Sorry, Bobby.
I remember it, though. I remember it. I mean, there's not not much of a story to tell, but definitely I remember it. And then we were even on stage together, with Bill Anderson and Jamie Johnson,
Yeah.
Jeannie Seeley, Larry Gatlin at one point. There's pictures of that.
Yes, we were on stage together.
And when your grandmother was inducted into the country music.
And then the next year, my grandmother was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and Bobby was at that. And by that point, we had been, acquaintances and Facebook friends and all of that for a year, and been at different events, seen each other. And he was there that night, and apparently he said he was sitting across the aisle from me, which I didn't know that either. Maybe you were a little bit of a stalker, Bobby.
Hey, man. Maybe so.
But so we didn't officially start dating until well into the pandemic. But what's really crazy is that Bobby is from a small town in Alabama, Luferne, Alabama, South Alabama. And as he said, when he was a kid, he was actually a DJ. He literally was a DJ at 11 years old. And so when my mom and my uncle David, my mom is Shelley West, and her duet partner was David Frizzell. And they had a big hit out together called You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma when she was pregnant with me. And she traveled the whole country singing that, Pregnant with Me. She sang it on the Grammys, Pregnant with Me. And apparently she sang it in, what town was it, Bobby?
Troy, Alabama, which was only 20 minutes from my hometown.
She sang it in Troy, Alabama, Pregnant with Me. And they were on the show with Ronnie Millsap. And Bobby's dad took him to this concert, and Bobby was at it when my mom was pregnant with me, and the very next month she gave birth to me. So I can say he officially met me way back then. And he actually, what the craziest thing is, when we were dating, he said he went back to his hometown and he was in his bedroom that he grew up in. He said, "You're not going to believe what I found in a drawer. The concert ticket of your mom and your uncle when I went and I was young."
Wow.
And she was pregnant with you. Literally found the concert ticket.
But I've got something that totally matches that. I actually announced her birth on the radio.
Is that not crazy? I mean, that is crazy. That's definitely out there. You can't even make that up.
That is
Absolutely
something.
crazy. But then, when the pandemic happened, because see, Bobby, is just, he's one busy guy. I mean, he's been with Curb Records for almost 30 years as a writer. And, just his calendar is full of writing appointments. And then the pandemic happened, and it's like all of a sudden nobody could get together. Curb shut down. And so he and I started talking, and he just was begging me to get together and do some writing. And it's just so funny because, I've got all these songwriters in my family. My grandmother actually was the first female in country music to win a Grammy for a song that she co-wrote with my granddad. And so that's super special. And then, like my Uncle Lefty, who's also in the Country Music Hall of Fame. I mean, he was a renowned songwriter, wrote several country classics. One song he wrote, That's the Way Love Goes, actually went #1 for both Johnny Rodriguez and Merle Haggard. And so for some reason, even though my major in college was creative writing, I've always been too intimidated to write songs because I just thought, I don't know, it's just too much, like it's just been too intimidating with all of that family history. And so
even her dad wrote a big hit for country singer Gene Watson.
Yeah, he had a #1 hit that he wrote for Gene Watson. So a lot of songwriters in the family.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't know, I'm not going to touch that. It just feels intimidating and I'll overthink it. And Bobby was like, no, you've got to write with me. I can tell you're a writer. Just trust me, which is actually very funny to think about because there's people just begging to write a song with Bobby. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, but she was actually in.
Yes.
And just in Messenger, she could even like share an email and there would be like song ideas in it. I mean, that's how I knew that that was in her. I could just feel it. Plus, I thought, my gosh, your DNA, how could you die? So.
Yes, he pulled a little trick on me. And then, he was going through something and I sent him a message and said all this stuff. And he comes back and he says, listen to this song you wrote. And he took all of this stuff that I said and he put it in a song. And I said, okay. I said, you know what? All right, I'll get together and we can try to write a song then. Like you've got me convinced. And so we did. And we started writing and we were still just friends, at this point. And we were writing. And I have to admit, like the second I was with him, it was so comfortable. And we were just writing song after song after song. And I absolutely fell in love with songwriting first. And then I started falling in love with Bobby. And it was so funny because, when we first got together, Bobby was like, I just have to tell you. He said, well, what kind of songs do you want to write? And I said, oh gosh, I'm like, I love the saddest country music songs, like that's the best, when it's super sad and just rips your heart out. Like, let's write a song like that, And he said, okay. And he said, well, I don't really write love songs. Like I've been a co-writer on some and it's their idea, but it's just not really my thing. I don't really do love songs. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I just want to write sad songs anyway. So we get together and it was so funny because I realized about 9 or 10 songs in, I thought, wait a second. We have not written a single sad song. These are all love songs.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So then I started, kind of getting the hint.
So, Bobby, was that was it the plan to get her together to write? And then, that was.
No. I mean, I can honestly say no. I just thought she had the talent and I had the time with the pandemic. My calendar definitely was didn't have any rights on it. And I thought, well, this would be a good time and you should try it at least. And if you don't like it, then, there you've tried it. And man, the lines she would come out with, I mean, just crazy, and then when somebody gives me great lines, that just inspires me to, come up with special melodies. And it's just, she has so many irons in the fire. Of course, I have a lot of them too, but like with songwriting, she really has no idea how great a writer she is. I mean, I know people that have had huge success and they just don't, there's just no comparison. I mean, she just will come up with some of the freshest lines and she really knows how to make them better. She doesn't settle for less. And that actually helps me. It inspires me because it's easy to get in that song factory state of mind here where you're going and rushing through this song, going to the next one, and
Right.
when she does write one, it's really good. So.
But there's really something to be said for the comfort level that Bobby gives. And other people have said this, other writers. Janie Seeley had kind of stopped writing for a little while, even though she's had some great cuts early in her career and stuff. And she got together with Bobby and she was like, oh my gosh, she just makes you so comfortable. So that really was what it was at first. And he had me so comfortable that it went from me feeling so intimidated, I didn't even want to attempt to even write a song, period, to literally going in there. And here's Bobby, who's been with Curb Records for so many years, had a huge #1 hit, had other hits, had songs cut by all the legends. And I'm literally telling him, no, that is not good enough. We can come up with something better than that. Like on appointment 1, I was like, no, that is weak.
And you know what else though blew me away is that I remember we just for fun took a little break and started singing like Every Time Two Fools Collide, a song made famous by her grandmother Kenny Rogers, or maybe doing a little bit of Oklahoma. You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. And I never have been one to sing with other people, male or female. My voice just doesn't seem to blend, or at least with the people I had worked with. I have this more low register going on for one thing. And for some reason, she has this richness in her voice, not too high pitched. And it just totally, I mean, right off the bat, there was a blend there that I couldn't believe. And one of the first songs we wrote, we literally sing it together every line. And she's going to be recording that song. And it's a love song called Lay Down and Love Me. And it didn't take long to start having feelings for sure because,
It was so surreal. Yeah, just like you said, like we knew that each other sang and we had kind of been at some of the same things, but neither one of us had ever just really thought much about it. And then as we're writing, he said, well, let's kind of break away and just sing something, together, and then we'll come back. And all of a sudden, it's just like we started singing, and both of us were like, whoa, that's crazy. I mean, we just had chills. We just did, neither one of us planned it. And, over the years, I've had some people that I'll sing with if I'm being asked to do You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, there'll always be some sort of guy, some cowboy, some bass player, something that joins me on the song, and it's never usually good, to be honest. And all of a sudden, we are just singing, and we are like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, it's just some sort of crazy chemistry going on with our voices, and that's kind of what started it.
And I love it. I love to hear it, played back. And I don't really, I'm not going to be sitting around listening to anything I do. I'm off listening to other people, whether it's Barbara Streisand, Nat King Cole, or Merle Haggard, or Hank Williams. And I love listening to us. I mean, it's funny, in the studio this past weekend was the very first time we ever recorded together. And I'm not going to spill the beans and tell you what song, because that can be a surprise later when the record's released. But I was anxious to see what we sounded like in the studio, because I know live it's really magical. And then, the producer called me this morning and he says, man, this is so good. And I'm really excited about it. But, throw all that out the window. I mean, at the end of the day, she just has a beautiful heart and easy to love and just beautiful in every way, inside and out. And that all sounds cliche, but it's very true. And if you hear this said often, you feel like you've known someone your whole life, and it's just that easy for the most part.
So what
was the
Go ahead, Kat. Sorry.
what was the moment when you both knew, like, this is going to be fun?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think for me, several songwriting appointments in, I just started feeling like, all of these love songs. I just was sitting there like, is he writing this about me? It was too close to home. I don't think it could have been about anybody else. And I just thought, he was also at that time going through some things with his mother being in poor health. And he was so just concerned for his mom with all of this. And my heart would just hurt if I thought he was hurting. And I thought, oh gosh, I must be falling.
You know what I would do? I'm just really being honest, and I'm pretty open, but there's also a part of me that's very closed. But I'll tell you something I did. I would like Google things like, is she into you? Like
Oh my
one of
goodness,
the
this is
things.
the cutest. Is that not the cutest thing ever?
I can't believe I'm actually saying that. But I did that.
I know, and I think it's adorable. Like that a grown man. It's like,
Yeah, really.
I'm leaving this writing appointment, and he's getting on Google. Like, how can I tell if she likes me?
Yeah, and then I would do it over and over again, just trying to find anything.
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
So
isn't that crazy? I mean, looking back at that, it's
That's
just
awesome.
it's wild how it works.
So, was there a first date? I mean, did you guys, officially call
Oh,
it a
I mean,
first date?
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I mean, it was after a
First
lot
date.
of writing. It was like after a lot of writing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was,
Right.
were never looked at as dates by any means.
Right. Yeah.
Especially
Those aren't the dates.
Especially
We
not in the
did have a
beginning.
first-
I mean,
Yeah.
No. But when we did have a first date, I said, well, he was asking me what I would want to do. And I said, well, just surprise me. And I'm thinking like, I meant surprise, like pick the restaurant. That's all I meant, And so we get in the car and we're just talking. We just talk and talk and talk. I mean, he and I travel to do shows. We have done shows all the way out Hollywood, California, all the way to Gulf Shores. We've been to New York City together. So we do a lot of traveling and we literally never run out of things to say. So there's always a lot of great conversation, which is wonderful. But so we're just talking and talking. And all of a sudden, I'm like, gosh, we've been talking. I haven't even paid attention, but I think we've been driving for a while. And like, where is he taking me? And I look on the road. And I'm like, well, how strange. I feel like all of these license plates say Alabama. And, surely we're not like out of Tennessee. And then I'm like, wait a second, is he kidnapping me? But he had literally, for our first date, he drove all the way to Muscle Shoals and then drove me around and told me about a lot of the history and, told me about some of his memories there, took me to a little romantic Italian restaurant. And so it was a great first date.
Awesome. All right, Kat.
yeah. Yeah, because I had lived there in Muscle Shoals before moving to Nashville. That's where I started really learning about the craft of songwriting because it's definitely one of those second homes to me still. And it's a very comfortable place to be in. And I just thought, well, that's a great, first date place. And it has a beautiful little downtown,
Mm-hmm.
and a nice little Italian restaurant. And then we drove down to, I remember one of the studios, and then one of the songs that her grandmother recorded, came on. And yeah, it was just
Came
really,
on the radio when we were sitting there. Yeah, it was crazy.
it's perfect. It really was.
So it's been a couple of years, I guess, now, right? Pandemic was when this started, and things are going good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been some of the most turbulent times ever, but also some of the most beautiful times. I mean, when I say turbulent, not with her, but I'm just saying all the life stuff. I mean, and that seems to be this case with most everyone, but I mean, it sure is a plus to have someone, during a lot of those storms. I mean, she's been through them too, not just me. I mean, it's been really special getting to be strong.
For sure. I think when you go through a lot of storms, outside storms in a relationship, you're probably either going to break up or you're just going to grow way stronger. And it's like I don't know how we have been through the amount of things that we have in
In a
just over
short time,
3 years.
really.
I
Yeah.
know, in 3.5 or so years, just the amount of, some of it that everyone's gone through, like a pandemic, and just how that trickles down and affects so much of life. And then, loss of family members or friends, or like he was talking about all the losses. I mean, he was constantly singing at a funeral. I feel like every weekend he sang at a funeral there for a year.
Yeah.
Which,
I actually counted that too. Again, sounding morbid, but it's been over 15 that I either had to be a pallbearer at or either sing at in the last.
Jeez.
which
30.
is just crazy. I mean, but what it's done, I mean, he's just grown so much, and it's definitely made us closer, because when you go through all of that together, you really figure out, this person loves me if I have $1 in my bank account or $200,000 in my bank account. They love me if I quit songwriting because I've had it this week and I just want to say that I'm going to quit. And it's like, okay, if you quit, I'm still here, still love you. It's fine. Like, I love you for your heart. Or if you have a number one on the radio, like, you really find out,
Yeah.
when you're going through all of that, what kind of love you're dealing with.
And you know what? The reality is, you're saying that, and it just makes me think we're all the same. So often, so many people that aren't in the entertainment business, they think that people in this business are totally so different from them. But the truth is, we're all the same. We all hurt. We all have problems, whether it's financial or whatever. I mean, or losing people. And that's, but it's just almost comical to me how some people just think it's so different for people in this business. If anything, it may be more chaotic and more heartbreak.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know people, it's sad. I shouldn't even say this, but I've seen some of the most sad cases. People that have hit the highest highs and they're so miserable. And some of them are still, riding high in this business, but they're not happy people. And how sad is that?
Yeah. I mean,
I'll say, you know what? My whole point of saying that is, it all comes down to love. I think that is so much the key. And, if someone is listening and they don't have that love in their life, still just having love, whether it is a family member or a friend. But the icing on the cake is when you do find that one that you can really share that with. But at the end of the day, it's my dear friend who passed away, Andrew Dorff. He always would say, it's all about the love.
Well, that is true. All right, Kat, are you there?
I am, and
Are you asleep, Kat? I mean,
listen to it all because I'm a kindred spirit about all of this. I feel that very same way about the love being the most important thing. But the first time that I suspected that you all might be a couple, I was reading about going to a wrong wedding, and so
Oh gosh, yeah.
that back. What was
that makes me laugh out loud just hearing you say that. I mean, that was one of the craziest things I've ever
Oh my gosh. We get into the craziest adventures. I don't even know. So that was a crazy one. My cousin was getting married, and I had told him all week, I said, I am so concerned that somehow because I'm kind of chronically late. And so I was like, I am so worried that somehow I'm going to mess this up. Like, we have got to be on time, and all week I was just very kind of obsessed with it. And so the day comes and I'm like, okay, I think we've got it. But we had to drive to a hotel, and then this bus was going to shuttle us out because it was at this gigantic, like a dam, this beautiful scenery, but you had to actually take the shuttle bus to it. And so first off, we drive to the hotel and I'm like, okay, I think we've made it. And then I'm worried that I'm on the phone the whole time with my uncle. And I'm like, well, where are you? Where are you, Dale? And I said, oh gosh, you're trying to drive there and not take the bus. Oh my gosh, you're not going to make it. Like, this is terrible. And I'm so worried that he's not going to make it. The whole time I'm telling Bobby, like, Dale is never going to make it. I don't even know where he is. And so I'm so concerned about that. And then we show up to the hotel and I'm like, okay, we made it just in time. But the black shuttle bus is starting to pull off. And I said, oh my gosh, Bobby, chase down the bus. And so he chases it down because the first hotel we went to was the wrong hotel, even though it was the same name. So by the time we get to the right one, the bus is leaving. So he chases down the bus. We get on the bus, and I'm like, okay, now I can relax. Like, everyone's dressed up for the wedding. People have their wedding presents.
Yeah, but remember what I said, though? I said, ooh, these really stuck up people.
I know. And I was like, well, that is just judgmental, Bobby. I was like, I mean, it must be his family, because my cousin was the bride, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it must be his family, but I'm not gonna think like that. Like, that's terrible. And so we're sitting there, and I'm like, I'm just so relieved that we caught the bus. Obviously my uncle, he's gonna miss the whole thing. Poor Dale, he messed, but we have made it. I can breathe a sigh of relief here. And so we're driving, and Bobby's like, oh, there's where George Jones lived, blah, blah, blah. Typical Bobby, he knows like the history of everything. And then we get there, and we get out, and it's beautiful. And actually, we visited with some people. We didn't know them, but we just visited. We took pictures. We left the present. And I said, oh gosh, the wedding is about to start. I think I'm going to give my Uncle Dale one more. And Dale is actually the youngest sibling of my grandmother, Dottie West. And it's my cousin, May, who was getting married. And so actually the gift, one of the wedding presents, was a photo of my grandmother holding me and May. So it was a very custom gift. And then, some other stuff from Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever. But one thing was really custom. So we left the present, and I said, I'm just going to give Dale one last call, before we go in, and tell him that he's missed it, but we'll go ahead and go in and he can make it to the reception. So I call him, and he's like, well, I'm almost there or whatever. And I said, well, Dale, I'm sorry, but it's about to start. So we're going to go in and get a seat, but we'll see you at the reception. And so we go in, and again, we visited with people, and we go in and sit down. And in hindsight, it's like I started noticing things. I thought, well, that's weird. She talked about a waterfall and a dam. And I said, there's just a little pond down there. I mean, there's not, but whatever. Maybe she just exaggerated a little. It's fine. And then I'm thinking, just the way she described the venue. I mean, it's a little small. I mean, not judging. It's really pretty, but it's not like she talked about. And then Bobby said, the preacher said, okay, everyone turn your phones off. We're getting started. And people start walking down the aisle of the wedding party. And Bobby says, I think we're at the wrong wedding. And I literally thought he was joking. I was like, that is not even funny. I've been worried all week about this. And here we are, the only one representing the west side of the family, because I don't see any of them here. And luckily we made it. And he said, no, really. He said, ask the person next to you who's getting married. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I asked her, and she's like, Jimmy and Kelly. And I'm like, oh. And Bobby gets up and runs. I was chasing after him, which, why in the world did you have to have such a dramatic exit? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, people are going to think who knows what about us.
That is.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, where even are we? Don't even know where we are. This bus took us way out in the middle of nowhere. We were talking. We don't know where we are. And I said, oh, Bobby, you have to go take the present back. I can't do it.
And the present was her grandmother. And what, your cousin or something?
That'd be so weird to open. So I was like, no, you have to go. You have to go take it back. So he head between his legs goes in, so embarrassed. I'm like, well, I'm gonna need that present back. And he tells the wedding coordinator that we're at the wrong wedding, and she's busy trying to run this wedding, and so she's just kind of like, okay, get the present and go. And so we're just standing in this parking lot, and we're like, we don't even have a clue where we are in the States. So luckily, this guy on a golf cart just happens to hear us talking, and he's just laughing his head off. And he's like, I have worked this property for wedding venues all these years, I've never seen anyone do this. He said, you're like out in Leaper's Fork or some crazy far out place. And he was like, I'll just drive you. Because we were trying to call an Uber. We couldn't even get signal. We're like, where are we? So sure enough, this guy felt sorry for us. And he was like, get in my truck. I'm going to drive you 40 minutes to the right place. And, you know, we get out of that truck to the right wedding. And there's my family just looking at me like, yep, that's about like that. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's like a movie or something.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Well, it sounds like it's love to me. So it's been so fun to hear the backstory. I had no idea, but I knew it would be a beautiful story, and it certainly is. And I think it just has the characteristics of both of you from our interviews from before. There's the humor and history and the writing and just how it all comes together. And I had no doubt that you were both very thoughtful, you know, very kind people. So I'm just so happy that you did find each other in the way that you did.
Well, thank you so much. They always say when you're not looking, you know, that's when it happens. And I want to apologize to you because I haven't heard, well, either I have to apologize to both of you. I haven't hardly heard any words from you because when you get both of us together.
Oh, we just get talking. I know we've hardly
fine.
let them ask any questions.
It's fine. I mean, we
really appreciate your support and everything. And
Yeah.
really love the first podcast that we did. And it is very cool that this is the first time we've done one together, that it's with you.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as you told me about this, I was like, oh, we are in. I loved doing the first one. Plus, I love a love story. And, you know it's great when you both really feel like you're the lucky one. Like all the time, he does things for me, or you're just so thoughtful. He'll do something romantic, or just, like the perfect way I would want to be loved. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. And then he's like, oh no, I'm so lucky. I'm like, okay, good.
You know what?
We both feel lucky.
I'm thankful that you just said all of that and some of the other things you've said, because I'm going to keep this podcast and you're upset with me, and I'm going to play it volume 10.
Oh, it's really funny though. I will say about two people who are like songwriters at heart and they're in love is, if you are, and everybody has a disagreement. I get a little moody when there's a sound check. I'll admit I don't like sound checks, so I might pick a fight during a sound check. And then I'm back to nice and good, and we're all good. But, if you've been in a relationship long enough, you're going to have a disagreement. You're going to have an argument, whatever. And it's so funny because if we're ever having one, I'm like, oh, shoot, that's a really good line. Oh, that's a title right there. And I'm like, you can't stop yourself. You can't stop yourself from thinking that way.
That's so funny. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being on the podcast. We really, really appreciate you taking time to talk with us. And, of course, we want you to come back and talk to us anytime.
Well, you definitely want to talk to... You want to talk to Tess when she gets this project done, because there's going to be some more great backstories.
Oh, there's some really fun backstories. Yeah, for sure.
But really do appreciate both of you, and thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you both. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
As always, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, you can send those to Kat at iWritePlays@outlook.com, or you can write to me at backstorysessions@gmail.com, or Matt at level11ventures.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.